Hello, everyone, and welcome to another stream about Hive diversity on a Sunday. Why am I doing a second stream? Well, I got to thinking about the company again, and I was like, I'll follow them on Twitter. Except I can't. They don't have a Twitter account, which I just found odd. Now, there's nothing that says you have to have a Twitter account, obviously, but that just caused me to be more curious. And so I ended up doing some more searching on the company. And a new article has been posted in the last few days about the company and the app. So I thought I might combine that with another article I found right around the time the company launched. And again, compare whatever information can be gleaned from that. But moreover, and this is kind of a convoluted thing, so just go with me for a second. There was a video posted by a news outlet in, I think, New York or something, around the time the app launched. And I can't obtain that video to show you it here. There's not much there. So sort of like the Yahoo Finance one from last week, where it just kind of told me the company exists, but doesn't tell me much. There was something said in that video, that little news video, that sparked an idea in my head. I'm not going to tell you what that idea is yet. I want to go over these articles and then tell you what I don't know if it's a conspiracy theory so much, but I do have a theory as to what the utility of this app is. Now, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, if you didn't see the previous stream I did on this, I'm pretty sure in these articles it'll go over some familiar ground. And for those of you that did watch the last stream, maybe some of this is obviously going to be repetitive, but hopefully maybe there'll be something new. But in short, Hive Diversity brands itself, well, in its own name, as an app that helps to match up students, college students, with companies with the end goal of increasing diversity in those companies' workforces. And the question I've asked the entire time is, by what mechanism do they do this? How does this app accomplish this for these companies? What exactly is done? Because at some point, if you define diversity as anything other than straight white male, where's the decision point? And who's making that decision? And if they're making a decision based on those attributes, where's the legality of it? So, before I get into these articles, hello to those of you who have decided to join me briefly on this stream today. What's his face McWhatnot, Corey Suzuki, Dr. Keeve, Gunnar Anderson, Decode, Ethan Robbins, Zalbra, Jake Tungseth, Mike Savage, Zan Wild, the original Shroom, King of the North. Thank you, Officer Buck. Thank you so much. And Attack Alpaca. Hello. Hope everyone is having a good Sunday so far. All right, well, let's dive into this. Quinn the Cultist, hello. So this is an article from LinkedIn that was published, I believe, around the time the app went live. November 14th. Okay, so the app went live around October 15th. This is about a month after it had gone live. These are the two chief figures of the company. This is Byron Slozar, if I'm saying that correctly. He's the creator / CEO. And this is Dakota Eddy. She's like the marketing manager, or no, sorry, she's the COO. I apologize. We looked at a little bit of a video with her in it last time. But yeah, Hive Diversity founder and CEO Byron Slozar and partner and COO Dakota Eddy. So let's get into this. This isn't too long. It's just a bit of a snapshot. So we'll get into this, and then we'll go into the new article that was posted in the last couple of days. Thank you again, Officer Buck. Hello, person of natural satellite. Is that the politically correct way of saying a moon unit, such as myself, as I am on the moon? Well, anyway. Victoria, which I assume is the interviewer from LinkedIn, what inspired you to take the plunge into starting Hive Diversity, and what's the reception been like so far? Byron, I started Hive because I had gained enough experience to know with 100% certainty that a few of my observations were warranted, and that I'd be able to develop a solution that would impact students and employers in a meaningful way. with 100% certainty that a few of my observations were warranted. What observations? Thank you, Quinn the Cultist, for the big smiley dog cat fox. Oh, dog cat fox. Thank you so much. Okay. Students should be able to go to college to figure out who they are when they are there, to experience college as college, not just to get a job. Okay. Much of the current structure with regard to recruiting and career development doesn't include them as participants in the conversation. Rather, it expects them to accommodate how the structure has always existed because they need and want jobs. I'm going to need a second to digest that. Thank you again, Officer Buck. Hive as in hierarchy of international vengeance and extermination? No. Hive as in it has a pretty logo? I don't know. If there's a philosophy behind the name and obviously the company symbol with the hexagons and everything is talking about a beehive and all, but and I've seen that in several places like Bumble, and there's even a company in I think London or the UK called like Hive Learning or Hive Inclusivity or something. But I guess they had to distinguish themselves by calling themselves Hive Diversity. Anyway, back to the interview. Okay, let's try that again. Much of the current structure with regard to recruiting and career development doesn't include them as participants in the conversation, them being the college students, okay? Rather, it expects them to accommodate how the structure has always existed because they need and want jobs. Doesn't include them as participants in the conversation. The current structure. Okay, well, truthfully, I don't know how college recruiting works. I remember career day when I went to college, and there were various companies there with like tables or booths or something. You could go up, you could find out about the company and get a job application or get contact information and things like that. I'm not quite sure how you would change that structure. Of course, back in my day, that was before apps. So obviously apps kind of replace the company booth, I suppose. Back to the interview. We've recognized some of the inefficiencies in personalized service, then added innovation and personality to technology, allowing us to focus on the goals of success and placement while redefining the way to get there. Corporate speak. Okay, the reception has been overwhelmingly positive. We've built a student community with representation across 225 universities and 2,000 plus student organizations. Our select fall corporate partners represent diversity of industry, company size, and intention. It's fun to see what you think is a good idea grow into something that others believe and see as well. Okay. Back to the interviewer. How can professionals and candidates at every level, as well as employers, take an active role in championing diversity and inclusion? Not exactly on topic with the app, but okay, I'm curious to know. Okay, this is Dakota, Eddie, the COO. Quote, there are so many ways we each can make an impact as diversity and inclusion champions, so I'll name a few here, but definitely not all. All right, I'm ready to be educated. I don't often hear a direct answer to such a question. Granted that we're about to receive a direct answer. Employers can offer and require training in diversity, equity, and inclusion so that the workforce understands each of these words, their meanings, and how they relate. I would hope, she's probably not going to, but I would hope that she would define these words to us. Because how are you trained in diversity, equity, and inclusion? I've always been curious. I've tried to find like an insider's example or like a video of someone going through that routine. They might be out there, but it always sounds so very vague. Our module will ensure this common language is a baseline understanding. And for those of you listening at home, the words baseline understanding are in larger font size and italicized for reasons I don't understand. Okay, but starting again. Our module, and I'm guessing that means what goes on in the app, will ensure this common language is a baseline understanding before our students move forward as DEI champions. Employers can also ensure workforce policies, from the hiring process to bathroom policies, are equitable so everyone has a chance to grow, feel comfortable, and succeed. If everyone has a chance to grow, feel comfortable, and succeed, why do you need a diversity program? You know, the very presence of a diversity program. Okay. Individuals and candidates at every level can start by acknowledging what elements they uniquely bring to the organization, not only in the form of culture, race, and gender, but elements such as socioeconomic background, geographic location, and specific knowledge and experiences. Okay, everything prior to specific knowledge and experiences is irrelevant. Should be irrelevant as far as what the company looks for in an employee, either legally or just ethically. Culture, race, gender, socioeconomic background, geographic location. I mean, obviously there's some pragmatic considerations. If you don't live near where the company works, then obviously you probably won't get the job, but okay. Continuing. Individuals can then better contemplate differences, which make us all unique, and learn more to identify and prevent their own unconscious biases and become culturally competent. When selecting companies and entering companies, employees can start to be active champions by learning the diversity, equity, and inclusion goals and vision of the organization and understanding how these goals impact their roles and how their roles might impact the initiatives. What does that mean? Whether you join an employee resource group, ERGs, my favorite, volunteer to be on a DEI task force, sounds rather paramilitary, or are a people manager, you can, learn more about diversity and inclusion, get involved in the conversation, make suggestions for improvement, listen to others' perspectives and offer your own perspectives, and speak up on behalf of yourself and others, unquote. Pardon me a second. None of that said anything. None of that meant anything. That was all babble. And if I'm not mistaken, similar things happened in the last stream where I went over what the people involved in this app and company had to say about their product or their sense of where their place is within the process. Things like this should be fairly straightforward. You know, the elevator pitch, explain to me diversity, equity, and inclusion on a corporate level. Of all the people that should know this, it's the people that comport themselves and present themselves to be experts in the area, or people who are offering a service to, I don't know, facilitate the outcome. But rare a day is it that I actually hear anything solid from people involved in this, or who brand themselves as experts in this particular part of recruitment or hiring or whatever. Back to the interviewer and almost the end of the interview. Victoria, the interviewer, asks, what advice would you have for fellow entrepreneurs and creators who are looking to tackle new challenges? Have you ever read a softball before? I think that's what I just did. The CEO, Byron Slozar, quote, 1, figure out where you can enhance what others are doing rather than focusing on competing with others. Figure out where you can enhance what others are doing rather than focusing on competing with others. What? We have focused singularly on where we know we're great, which is engaging students, educating them in an innovative way, removing a lot of the noise and unnecessary actions from their process, and increasing opportunities for employers to more meaningfully engage with them. Okay. Figure out where you can enhance what others are doing. Okay, so you want to you're providing a service. That's providing a service. Like if there's a company that has 70 data entry workers and you find a way to mechanize 50% of their workload and you offer that as a service to the company, then it just sounds kind of boilerplate. But okay. 2, knowing that you don't know something is actually knowing exactly what you need to know. Well, yes. If you come to a point where you lack knowledge about something and you need to know it to proceed, you ideally take the initiative to find that information or find someone who has that information. Go to the library. Okay. I have never been a CEO. Oh, okay. So this is his first outing as a CEO. All right. That's information I don't think I had before. And I now have a team of 9 and growing who work with me, capital letters italicized, providing talents and insights in areas where I don't have expertise. Yes, that's... Maybe these are revelations for our speaker. I guess they must be. Success is about how a team of individuals can collectively drive the business forward, scale it significantly, and feel empowered every step of the way, and in the end produce something pretty sweet. Okay. That's not at all interesting. And I'm not saying it has to be interesting if that's how he sees it, or if these are the lessons he's learned being a CEO for the first time. Okay. But all of that just feels very instinctual to either business or the service industry or leadership or working together as a team. I mean, no man is an island, as they say. So obviously, yes, you need people who have talents you don't possess yourself to do work that you either can't or are not skilled in doing to get done what you need to get done. A CEO of a company isn't necessarily the master of all things dealing with the product. So, okay. Well, anyway, as unhelpful as that article was, let's move on to the one that was published in the last couple of days. This one comes from Adweek, who's talking about the company. So yes, and I believe this is published just 5 days ago. All right. And I promise my thought about what the app might actually be doing, I will get to momentarily. Brands tap this startup for greater representation at the college recruitment stage. Career marketplace Hive Diversity is helping companies be more inclusive by connecting them at an early stage. Again, as I asked in various ways in the last one, aside from it being an app, why is this any different than a booth at a college or any other career/job placement app? I still haven't been told, as far as I know, what makes this one quote unquote diversity focused. What is the mechanism that makes it diversity focused versus just I'm matching someone with a job potential? As Black Lives Matter protests reached a fever pitch last year following the death of George Floyd, it wasn't long before the conversation turned to the lack of diversity, equity, and inclusion in many workplaces. In response to that conversation, this fall brought the launch of Hive Diversity, a platform that helps companies build workforces that better reflect the broad array of people living in the U.S. Helps companies build workforces that better reflect the broad array of people living in the U.S. How? The diversity platform works to connect brands and companies with college students of various backgrounds, underscoring the importance of recruitment at the entry level. Recruitment at the entry level is not a new thing. Okay. Since its debut, Hive diversity has been embraced by a vast array of consumer-facing brands, from consumer packaged goods to retailers looking to improve their track record on inclusivity. Those businesses include household names such as yogurt maker Chobani, footwear retailer Steve Madden, Burger King parent Restaurant Brands International, and luxury retailer Saks Fifth Avenue. And I'm about to sneeze, so I'm going to mute myself for a second. And of course, as soon as I say that, I don't sneeze. Okay. Hive Diversity was founded by Byron Slosar, a former undergraduate career advisor and recruiter for Tulane University. Okay, I didn't know that about our CEO, former recruiter for Tulane University. Okay. It was in that role, while meeting with a transgender student, that the idea for the startup was born. The student was seeking guidance on how to work at a company where he could be his true self and feel at home, but there was no readily available solution. Parentheses, the student now works at Hive as the finance and business development lead. Parentheses. The student was seeking guidance on how to work at a company where he could be his true self and feel at home. Is that a company problem or a you problem? Is it up to the company to make you feel at home, quote unquote, or be your true self? Okay, 2 years after that fateful 2015 meeting, Slosar began building the platform unveiled in October. Okay, so 2015 to 2020, so 5 years it took him. All right. Quote, "We're done filling potholes," Slosar said of the effort. "We're building a whole new road." All right. Hive Diversity is a two-sided marketplace. On one end, it serves the needs of corporations seeking greater representation in their workforces. This leads into my theory, but we'll get there shortly. On the other, the solution recognizes the evolving range of interests and majors students pursue, with the idea of matching these students with roles for which they might be well suited, even though their area of study may not adequately prepare them. All right. Thank you, Snubbirth. It's about making a home here. Inclusivity never changes. Yeah. Making a home here. I remember that video. That was such a cringy video, but it said a lot. If you guys don't know what we're talking about, God, what college was it? Oh, God. It was a husband and wife team of professors at a college that specifically got zapped or something over an email about costumes or something. And anyway, they were turned into villains. And there's this video of one of the students arguing with the professor, the husband of the duo, and she's screaming about how your job isn't to teach us or something. It's about making a home here. Where this student apparently thought that college isn't about learning anything; it's about having a big hug box. So, yeah, it was a portent of things to come, or things that were already in process. All right, back to the article. We're getting to examples now. For example, to solve the challenge of the sparsity of students with finance degrees, Hive Diversity will launch a finance-focused curriculum in the spring for students whose schools don't offer finance major. Offer finance major? Offer a... Hive Diversity will launch a finance-focused curriculum. So you're going to teach a college-level finance class through your app? What? I'm going to back up. Let me try this again. On the other, the solution recognizes the evolving range of interests and majors students pursue, with the idea of matching these students with roles for which they might be well suited, even though their area of study may not adequately prepare them. So, someone doesn't have either the education or the experience for a particular job, but you're going to match them to jobs they're not actually prepared for regardless. And then, on back to the article, for example, to solve the challenge of the sparsity of students with finance degrees, Hive Diversity will launch a finance-focused curriculum in the spring for students whose schools don't offer finance major. I'm very confused now. So is Hive Diversity a career job matching app, or are you getting a full-on college education with this app that then is going to be accepted by a potential employer? The aim of Hive Diversity's clients, okay, so the people conceivably hiring the people through this app, is to create a pool of candidates that will eventually fill senior roles. Senior roles. Okay. But I thought we were talking about entry-level college students. Okay. Currently, students from more than 625 universities across the U.S. are on the platform. Okay, that doesn't tell us how many actual users there are, just tells us that there are 625 locations where these users identify they are located. So there could be 625 users, one from 625 universities each. But anyway, while companies pay an annual fee for the service, it's free for students. Right. Chobani discovered Hive Diversity through its chief legal officer, Kathy Leo, who had a connection to Slozar, and Jamie Secchi, its VP of Talent Acquisition and Development. Chobani has set a 3-year target, which concludes at the end of 2023, of increasing by 50% representation of underrepresented groups at director level and above, for which the company is utilizing Hive Diversity to help achieve. So Chobani has a quota of hiring people and putting people in director level positions based on diversity. Right. Okay. Yes, and as Keeverdam correctly points out, I did read it as it's written, but underrepresented groups, now it's demographics, but some, is it just that they've conflated these two words into one another now, or is it a conscious effort to avoid using the word demographic? Is there something bad about the word demographic in some way, shape, or form? Okay, we recognize that diversity and inclusion is an ongoing process with many goals, challenges, and milestones on the road ahead of us, said Secchi. Quote, Hive not only makes these connections, but also takes the extra step in educating students on what employers look for when hiring and how to position themselves for a successful job match. Okay, so not only does it help you find open positions, but it also teaches you a finance major, and it tells you what these specific companies want when hiring or look for. Okay, well, since it is a go-between between the user and the already established clients, if the clients say, anybody looking for a job here has to meet these requirements, or here's our prerequisites, or here's our culture, and here's a profile of that on the app. Like, okay, how is this any different from any other job site or job app? I'm still waiting. Steve Madden appreciates that Hive Diversity takes a holistic approach to build authentic relationships with a diverse network of students. Means nothing. It helps the retailer remove barriers that might have previously prevented those candidates from rising throughout the job application process, said Liz Rodbell, the footwear brand's group president. So the app helps retailers remove barriers that might have previously prevented those candidates from rising throughout the job application process. What barriers? Because if the goal is diversity and the app brings down barriers in your job application process, your job application process is racist or sexist or homophobic or something? Quote, in hiring, we know that connecting with a diverse set of candidates is only one part of the equation, unquote, she said. Quote, we also need to be cognizant of our application process and ensure that talented people aren't being left out for reasons that have no bearing on their ability to fulfill job requirements, unquote. You might also ask the question, dare I say, whether or not people are being included into the job application process because of things that have no bearing on their ability to fulfill job requirements. It's a two-way street. Where are you discriminating in order to achieve diversity? And again, I have a thought on that momentarily. According to a 2020 study provided by workplace consulting firm Mercer, despite some improvement, companies in the US still have a lot of ground to make up. For example, 85% of executives, 83% of senior managers, and 77% of managers are white, while only low single-digit percentages either Hispanic and Latino or African American. Meanwhile, men account for 77% of executive roles, 71% of senior manager positions, and 63% of managers. Okay, so we're not talking about skill. We're not talking about ability. We're not talking about knowledge. We're not talking about talent. No, we're just talking about the aesthetics. Okay, so all these companies are racist. Every company that has a white person in a position of authority somewhere is racist. The answer to why those numbers exist the way they do is because of racism and sexism. Okay. So all this talk about ability and, of course, the 50% goal of representation of underrepresented demographics at director level and above, if that is your metric, first and foremost, if that is the goal, it puts every person who ends up in a position of leadership who isn't in the demographics you don't like under a suspicion that they're only there because they look the part. But that's an old argument. Nothing new. Nothing new there. But here's what happened to cause me to do this stream today specifically. So as I said at the top, there was a video out there from a news channel that did just a really brief, like 2-minute sort of puff piece on the company. And there wasn't anything really interesting about it. It was basically a lot of what I've already read, just put into brief video form. But there was one moment where there was a clip, a very brief portion of, I guess, some kind of Zoom interview that the news station did with the CEO of Hive Diversity, where he says something to the effect, and I am probably just paraphrasing slightly. He said, we want to take the pressure off of people, or something like that. Now, he might have been referring to the college students and the difficulties in finding jobs. That's possible. It was completely out of context. But his words, and in context with the company and its stated goal and so on, I got to thinking for a second. Now, to preface this, I'm not a lawyer. I am not an equal opportunity employment expert at all. I do not know. Okay. But I had a thought. Throughout my channel's history, as I've done videos on diversity and inclusion programs and executives and all these things, my overriding question the entire time is this process legal under equal employment law in the United States? I can't speak for Canada or other places, but just in general, if you have a diversity, equity, and inclusion program in your company, if you say you're instilling your hiring practices and your promotion practices with diversity, equity, and inclusion, and diversity, equity, and inclusion is defined functionally, regardless of all the rhetoric, but functionally, as we've seen over and over again, as people who are not white, who are not male, who are not straight, and a combination thereof elsewise, is that legal? Because it sure sounds like you're saying out loud, we are going to assess people in our company for employment or promotion on things not related to their inherent merit, but based simply on the demographic or demographics in which they fall into. All right. So if the company makes a decision about who to hire based on those things, obviously, if you can prove it, which is obviously difficult, but if you can prove it, violation of civil rights, violation of federal law, huge lawsuit, scandal. But what if you transferred an entire portion of your hiring process to a third party application that creates the pool of candidates from which you then choose. So the people made available for you to choose to interview or to hire, the gathering of those candidates was not your doing. You're simply selecting from what this third party has funneled to you. So my question is, if Hive diversity, somewhere in its process, is doing the filtering on the basis of these things, they're not an employer, right? They are a pass-through. They are a service provider. If something about their process does the diversity selection ahead of then presenting these candidates to the employer, does that act as a firewall, legally, ethically, and so on, for the company should questions arise about how or why did this person end up being hired or being rejected or whatever else? Is the idea of Hive diversity meant to take the pressure off of the company from having to roll the dice on a diversity and equity and inclusion program from their side by putting in this middleman? That is my question. I don't know what the legality is of a career builder app discriminating on who they gather up to present as options to a company. Is that illegal? Does that violate law? Because it's not employment, it's recommendation, right? The app is effectively recommending people to these companies. And if the companies then take those recommendations, if they trust the third party or effectively unload the responsibility of that step in the hiring process to a third party, do they then avoid liability? That's my question. That's what occurred to me as I was thinking about it today. Thank you, Pakal, the Driving Ape Man. It's illegal here as well. Our laws are 95% similar. I realize that, and I'm just speaking. And I said, did I say Canada specifically? I said Canada. I just, outside the U.S., I don't know country to country what the laws are. I see a lot of videos from the UK and from India and a lot of places that talk about diversity hiring and such. And generally, I avoid those videos talking about it where the company isn't based in America because, I can talk in spirit how it's wrong, but I don't know legally if it's wrong necessarily. So that's the only reason I bring that up. But that's my question. That's my curiosity in furtherance of the product here of Hive diversity. Is that its utility? Is it a fail-safe for legal liability for companies looking to diversify their workforces, but not wanting to be the one that does the deciding of who ends up in the application process? That's my question. The other thing I want to note, which I find hilarious, now it could just be the cookies on my browser or something, but when I look up Hive diversity on YouTube, the first thing that pops up is my video from the other week, which is amazing to me. Not because I'm impressed with myself, but just because on a marketing level, I'm amazed they don't have a Twitter account. They have a LinkedIn account and they have I think an Instagram account. But that's it so far. So for a online job application, 21st century thinking, so on and so forth, they don't have a Twitter account. They don't have a YouTube channel. They don't have any videos up promoting their product on YouTube, which, like I said, boggles me. And I know they've only been out for a couple of months, but you would think that just on the base level, that would be the considerations for getting the word out. I mean, if you want people to know you exist, you go to Facebook, you go to Twitter, but they don't have those. So I don't know. That just struck me as odd. I don't know that I'm not saying it says anything insidious or suspect or anything. I just found it bizarre. But in the meantime, if anybody is curious about Hive diversity and they do go to YouTube, I guess for now, I'm the one-stop shop. So there you are. I'll take a couple minutes if you guys have any comments or questions yourself or anything. I mean, I can't necessarily answer anything about the company, but if you have anything you'd like to add, and then I will wrap this up. Let's see. Dr. Keefe, Scribe Light, did you see that King of the North offered you a chocolate chip cookie? No, I apologize. I was so deep in reading stuff that I didn't get to see everything going on in the chat. But I like chocolate chip cookies. And as Check Your Logic reminds us, C is for cookie, and that is good enough for me. So thank you, King of the North, for the offer of cookie. Color commentary. I'm not sure it is Scribe Light. They are still curating based on protected class. It shouldn't matter what their source of curation is, in my opinion, non-legal opinion. Again, and I appreciate that, but like I say, I don't know. Because the diversity, equity, and inclusion philosophy in corporate America and elsewise has been going for years now. And so far as I can tell, there hasn't been any legal challenges of note against it. So if there is an inherent legal problem with this philosophy being stated out front, I haven't seen anybody do any pushback yet. Maybe that's politics, or maybe there hasn't been an active case that's come up yet, or at least one that's gone public. But all the same, I'm just wondering, does this app provide the companies a plausible deniability on such things? Because, like I say, to this point, everything else aside, my theories and onward, I have not read, nor have I seen anything that tells me why this app is any different from any other job search / career path app that focuses on quote unquote diversity. What is the special mechanism that leads to an outcome of diversity for the corporate clients? Where is that? Where in the process do you achieve that for your clients? Because if they're coming to your app, it's based on what's in the name, Hive diversity. And we know what diversity is defined as, even though they do everything they can to dance around it in their own rhetoric. So where does that happen? Where does the magic take place in the app to lead to that outcome for the clients? That's been my question this entire time. And after 4 articles, write-ups about the company and its leaders, and at least one video introduction from the COO, still don't have an answer. Thank you again, Pakal the Driving Ape Man. Pushback would be called a racist action. Probably. But anyway. Let's see. Data Wasteland. Scribelight. I just did a search check on YouTube and found a Hive diversity channel with 8 subs. I don't think that's a company channel. I actually looked at that channel. If you go to that, it has like gaming footage on it or something. So I think that might just be a coincidental channel name, or someone just decided to make the channel that name on the off chance they get the attention based on the I don't know. But yeah, I don't think that's a company channel. Doesn't have the company logo, doesn't have anything about it on there. So I think it just might be a coincidence. Some emulation. Scribelight. Could filtered candidates potentially seek legal action versus the app, or would it be too hard to prove? Well, again, unless they make transparent what the secret sauce is as to how they provide clients with this diversity outcome that their very name implies, I'm not quite sure what happens. But I am dying to have the opportunity to see either someone make or pose this question to the CEO and or the COO, or just to have them say it out loud. What does Hive diversity do to lead to diverse outcomes? What is the mechanism in the app that does this as compared to any other job app? So far as I can tell, none of these publications have actually asked that question or been curious about how the company achieves its ends or meets its clients' requests of them. I don't know. So this will be an ongoing thing. I'm sure there'll be more stories that come out about this if the app succeeds at all or continues. I've put out some inquiries about the company and the app to some outside sources that I have. I actually have outside sources now. I'm so fancy, which may or may not evolve into anything. But if they do, I'll let you know. And Data Wasteland. There's a story on the Yahoo Finance jail from a week ago. Yes, that was the video and the story that actually told me that this company existed. That was the impetus for this entire examination, such as it is. As little information as I can find about the company. Short of actually trying to use the app, and I don't have a smartphone, so I can't, I don't know. I've seen screenshots of the profiles of students, part of which is me represented in 5 emojis because, hello, fellow kids. But yeah, so that's all I had. A couple more articles and a theory question of mine about the utility of the app for these companies on a legal/ethical level. But all of this, just for anyone's curiosity, is speculation on my part. I don't know. I'm just curious, and I'm hoping at some point to maybe find out some answers, but we'll see. Anyway, everyone, thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it on this Sunday morning. I hope you're all having a good Sunday morning. If you'd like to hear more from me or Satsu 2 Cents or the Ranting Monkey, you can find all 3 of us tomorrow night, Monday night, on Satsu 2 Cents' channel at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern for the Lords of the Night, where we will talk about the news of the day, news stories you submit, what we've been up to on the internet, and then your questions and comments. Everyone, again, thank you for joining me. Thank you so much for your participation and your input. Those of you that donated, thank you so much for your generosity. I really do appreciate it. If and when more comes up about this company, I will present it. If you happen to come across anything interesting in the course of business and would like to let me know about it, zap me a tweet. Leave a comment on the video. I look at all this stuff. Information for the Twitter and all that's in the description below. And with that, everyone, I hope you are all safe and well. If you're not well, please get well soon, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.